My dear friend, this is not just another moment. This is your moment. You didn't stumble into this by accident. You were brought here, not by a click, not by a coincidence, but by divine appointment. God is speaking now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. And the message? It's urgent, it's holy, and it's personal. See, God sees you, not just the outside version the world sees, but every tear you've cried in secret, every silent prayer, every long night you thought no one noticed. God noticed. He always has. This is the shift. This is the hour when your waiting ends. Something divine has already moved on your behalf, and it's for your good. That's not my opinion. That's His promise. We're stepping into a new season. I said a new season. A season of clarity, of refreshing, of freedom from the limits that tried to hold you back. The door that was once shut is about to swing wide open, but you gotta stay awake. Don't miss this. Because heaven doesn't repeat itself without purpose. When God moves, you move. Before we go deeper, let me welcome you to this divine moment. I humbly invite you to do 3 things. First, like this message. Second, hit the subscribe button. Join this growing family of warriors. Third, drop 7777 in the comments. That's heaven's number. Completion, divine order, and awakening. If you feel this is your appointed moment, declare it now. Type 777 and let all of heaven know you are ready. Let's begin. Beloved chosen ones, you've been walking through the fire, haven't you? You've been waiting and wondering, praying in silence, asking God, when will it end? When will the answer come? I came here to tell you that the wait is not only over, but the verdict has already been declared in heaven. While you were still pacing in the midnight hour, still wrestling with disappointment, still trying to figure out how you were going to make it to tomorrow, God was already finalizing your deliverance. This moment, yes, right now is the shift, and the shift has already begun. You might not feel it yet. It may not look like it from where you're standing, but the door that was closed is creaking open, and the wind of favor is about to rush through. What looked like silence was not God ignoring you, it was God preparing the blessing so it would not arrive prematurely. See, some of the greatest works of God don't come with noise or fanfare. They come wrapped in stillness. And if you've been in a season of stillness, it doesn't mean God left you. It means He trusted you enough to be silent while He worked behind the curtain. Now listen to me. Heaven is not casual about your suffering. God didn't overlook your tears. He didn't miss your battles. Every time you kept going when you could have given up, every time you forgave instead of fought back, every time you praised Him even when you didn't understand, God was watching. And not just watching, He was writing your deliverance, writing your restoration, writing your reward. You're not being overlooked, you're being positioned. You're not behind, you're being aligned. Everything that stood against you is about to bow before the favor resting over your life. Because when God says enough, there is no power in hell or hand on earth that can stop His will. And I believe He just said enough. If you've been wondering why it had to take this long, let me tell you, God wasn't punishing you. He was preparing you. The delay you experienced wasn't denial, it was divine strategy. Some doors can't open until you're strong enough to walk through them with wisdom. Some blessings can't be released until your heart has been humbled, your faith refined, your spirit trained for the weight of glory. The enemy saw your process and thought he was winning. He mistook your silence for defeat. But God was setting a trap not for you, but for your opposition. While you were in the waiting room, God was in the war room, planning your elevation. He saw the opposition. He heard the lies. He felt the pressure crushing down on you. But he didn't move when you wanted him to, because he moves when it's right. See, God doesn't rush a masterpiece. He takes his time, and he's been crafting you in that hidden place, shaping your endurance, stretching your patience, increasing your capacity for blessing. You weren't being punished. You were being trusted with the fire. Let that sink in. You were trusted with the fire. God knew you would cry but not quit. He knew you would feel broken but not walk away. That's why he allowed it, because he saw the end from the beginning, and he knew that if you just held on, your reward would not be delayed 1 second longer than necessary. And now the hour has struck. The season has shifted. The waiting has served its purpose. It's time to stop seeing the delay as a rejection. Start seeing it as a reset. The things you thought were breaking you were actually building you. You had to be emptied so he could fill you again. You had to be pressed so the oil could flow. And now that the oil is ready, so is the outpour. The things you lost, the relationships that collapsed, the opportunities that vanished, they were not meant to destroy you. They were clearing space for what God is about to do. So when you feel the pressure rising again, don't panic. When you feel the warfare intensify, don't retreat. It's just a sign that breakthrough is near. Because before every major blessing, resistance shows up to test your posture, but you won't miss this move. Not this time. You've endured too much, waited too long, grown too deep to fold. Now, the door is opening, and this time you're ready to walk through it with power. Right now you're standing in between what was and what will be. And you can feel it. Something's shifting in the atmosphere. The pressure you've been carrying is loosening. The walls that once confined your spirit are starting to crack. You're not imagining it. This is the turning point. This is the intersection where your struggle meets divine intervention. You've been praying through tears, worshiping through confusion, waiting while others moved ahead. But the verdict is in, and the delay has expired. The battle you've been in wasn't just to test your endurance, it was to qualify your character for where he's taking you next. You see, every great move of God begins with resistance. Every blessing comes with weight. If you had walked into it sooner, it would have crushed you. But now, after the refining, after the breaking, after the silence, you are not the same. You don't just have a testimony. You have maturity. You don't just carry hope. You carry wisdom. You are no longer the person who doubted God in the dark. You are the one who found him there. And now he is raising you up, not to show off your strength, but to demonstrate his grace through your survival. So when the opportunity opens up, walk into it with your eyes fixed on the one who brought you through. Don't carry the guilt of the waiting season into the promised one. Don't question if you're ready. You are. Don't let the voice of past pain talk you out of present peace. The storm was real, but it didn't end you. And now the sun is rising, not just around you, but within you. The Lord who saw your tears is the same Lord who's about to restore your years. Get ready for the kind of blessing that doesn't just touch your circumstances, but heals your heart. Get ready for relationships that honor your soul for purpose, that awakens your joy for doors that don't just open, but stay open because your character is rooted in obedience. God doesn't just want to bless you, he wants to make you a blessing, and he knows you're ready now. Not because you feel ready, but because you've been forged in fire and still chose faith. So don't wait for permission to praise. Don't wait until the check clears, the report changes, the crowd applauds. Praise him now for the strength that held you, for the silence that protected you, for the warfare that proved you. Praise him because you've been called, chosen, and confirmed, not by man, but by the Most High. This is the end of the waiting. This is the start of the promise. God is moving. And this time, he's not just bringing you through. He's bringing you into everything he spoke over your life. Walk forward. This is your moment. Now that you've stepped out of the waiting and into the promise, there's something you still need to understand. Before the fullness of your breakthrough manifests, before the phone call and the healing, the opportunity, the restoration, there's one more layer that God is working in you. It's not about the external anymore. It's not about the people who doubted you or the moments you thought you were finished. This part, it's between you and God. It's the inner trial, the test of trust, the proving ground of faith, and it doesn't always come with noise. It often comes in silence. Sometimes the most intense test doesn't look like fire. It looks like nothing. No answer, no direction, no confirmation, just you and God's silence. You pray and there's no echo. You wait and there's no sign. You ask and heaven seems still. And in those moments, the enemy whispers that you've been abandoned, that maybe you missed it, that maybe you didn't have enough faith. But I came to tell you something that'll shake that lie down to the dust. His silence is not his absence. His delay is not his denial. God is not punishing you. He's preparing you. You are in a test of faith. And let me tell you, only those who are being trusted with more get tested on this level. The silence you're in is sacred. It means he believes in you enough to let you walk without the training wheels. You've grown past needing constant signs. You're walking by faith now. Not feelings, not emotion, not what you see. Faith, raw, real, tested faith. You don't need goosebumps to obey. You don't need the crowd to validate. You don't need to see the whole picture to take the next step. That right there is trust. Faith is believing God can. Trust is believing he will, even when he hasn't yet, even when you can't see it, even when your heart is tired, even when your mind is full of questions. That's what you're in right now. And that's why it feels heavy. Because you're learning how to lean on his character, not just his gifts. You're learning how to cling to his promise, not just his provision. He's anchoring you in who he is, not just what he does. And that's what separates the ones who follow feelings from the ones who walk by truth. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're watching everyone else move forward while you sit in stillness, don't let that frustrate you. Let it fortify you. God is not late. He's not distant. He's exact. He's intentional. And he knows that this silence is strengthening something in you that noise never could. It's in the quiet that your roots grow deep. It's in the wait that your discernment sharpens. It's in the space between I asked and he answered that your character is shaped. This is not punishment. This is promotion in disguise. You've prayed and now you're positioned. You've cried and now you're being commissioned. The silence is your invitation to go deeper. Deeper into his word, deeper into worship, deeper into trust. Because what he's about to do in your life requires a foundation that doesn't crack when it's not comfortable. You've got to be rooted before you rise, anchored before you advance. And this is how he does it, with silence, with stillness, with a test that makes you choose. Will you trust him over your emotions? Will you trust his voice over your anxiety? Will you trust his timing over your desire? Don't forget, Abraham waited. Joseph waited. David waited. Jesus waited. Every great promise came through the corridor of delay. But it was never wasted time. It was sacred space. Space for formation. Space for maturity. Space for revelation. So don't curse the silence. Don't resent the wait. Embrace the refining. Trust the gardener. Even when you can't see the fruit, trust that the seed is still working in the soil. And here's the truth. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. You don't have to feel it to believe it. You don't have to see it to declare it. Right now, yes, right now, God is moving in realms you can't see. He's aligning conversations, redirecting hearts, shifting circumstances, opening doors, closing others, guiding angels, clearing pathways. And when it finally hits your life, you won't even have time to catch your breath. It's going to pour out, not drip. It's going to flood, not trickle. because the God who seemed quiet was actually working overtime on your behalf. You've come too far to quit now. You've sown too many tears to walk away. Don't let the test trick you into forfeiting the victory. Don't let a silent season convince you that he's done with your story. No, he's just turning the page. And the next chapter, it's got restoration, vindication, elevation written all over it. But to get there, you've got to pass this test. So here's what you do. Don't react, respond. Don't panic, praise. Don't isolate, intercede. Don't assume he's forgotten. Remember what he said? Go back to his word. Go back to the altar. Go back to the place where he promised you. Stand on it. Speak it out loud. Declare it like it's already done. Because faith doesn't beg, faith agrees. Faith doesn't need confirmation to move. Faith moves. And the confirmation follows. And when the enemy tries to whisper that God has left you behind, you remind that liar, what God said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. When doubt creeps in, speak truth back to it. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? When you feel overwhelmed by the weight of silence, lift up your head and say, even in the silence, I will trust you. Even in the waiting, I will worship you. Even without the answer, I will walk with you. That's how you pass the test. You don't need all the answers. You just need the right posture. A posture of surrender, a posture of trust, a heart that says, Lord, I don't understand it all, but I know you're faithful. I'm not walking by what I feel. I'm walking by what you've spoken. And when you carry that kind of trust, the enemy can't shake you. The silence can't scare you. And the test can't break you. It can only reveal the strength that was already inside of you. So hold on. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. And the breakthrough, it's already on its way. Just keep trusting. Keep believing. Keep walking. Because you're almost there. And when the door finally swings open, you'll realize it wasn't just about the destination. It was about becoming the kind of person who could stand in it. God's silence is not the end. It's the beginning of the next glory. You see, when you've walked through the fire and you're still standing, when you've waited in the silence and still said amen, when the doors didn't open and yet you kept knocking, what you didn't realize is that you weren't being ignored. You were being prepared. And this preparation didn't happen in public. It didn't happen under lights or applause. It happened in the dark. It happened in the delays, in the quiet hours where all you had was your tears, your questions, and your faith. That's where God was doing his most sacred work. That's where he was shaping something within you that couldn't be built in comfort. It had to be formed in waiting. Now listen to me. This is not punishment. That silence, that stillness, that season where nothing seemed to move, it wasn't because God forgot you, it was because he was fortifying you. Heaven was working behind the scenes. He was preparing you for what you asked for, even when you didn't feel worthy of receiving it. And the reason you couldn't see it yet wasn't because you weren't chosen. It was because you were chosen for something so weighty, so eternal, that it required a different kind of preparation. You weren't being passed over. You were being set apart. See, when God is about to do something new in your life, he doesn't start with your surroundings. He starts with your soul. And some of you, you've been frustrated because you've seen nothing change around you. But what you missed is that something has been changing within you. And that inner transformation, that's the real miracle. That's the real setup. Because if your environment changed before your heart did, you'd sabotage the blessing. But now you've been conditioned by the fire. You've been humbled in the wait. You've been quieted by his still small voice. And that's why you're ready, not because the wait is over, but because the wait has worked. God doesn't waste time. What felt like delay was actually design. What looked like detour was actually divine alignment. And while you were wondering why he wasn't saying anything, he was actually speaking in the language of process. You thought silence meant absence, but it meant instruction. Because sometimes God has to let the noise settle before he speaks clearly. Sometimes he has to pull you away from the crowd so that when he speaks, it's his voice and not your fears that you follow. Some of you have been asking God to move, but he's already moved within you. Now he's waiting for you to recognize what he's already done. He's been mending your heart, refining your desires, removing the attachments that would have ruined the next level. You prayed for elevation, but elevation requires excavation. He had to remove some things that you thought were essential. He had to isolate you so you'd stop depending on people and start depending on him. That wasn't rejection. That was protection. And here's what I came to tell you today. God is now releasing you into the very thing he's been preparing you for. But hear me, don't enter this next season casually. Don't treat it like just another opportunity. This is sacred ground. This is the manifestation of what was birthed in silence, in sorrow, in surrender. And now the reason your spirit is stirring again is because your time is finally aligning with his timing. The weight has lifted, the fog is clearing, and heaven is declaring now. But with every divine moment, there comes a responsibility. You have to step into this prepared. You have to let go of old mindsets. You can't walk into a new season with yesterday's perspective. What you're about to carry requires maturity. What you're about to walk in requires discernment. This isn't just a blessing. It's a calling. It's an invitation into deeper alignment with God's will. And if you step in fully surrendered, he will blow your mind with what he has been preparing all along. He never left you, not for a second. Even in the silence, his hand was on you. Even when you couldn't trace him, he was writing a better story than the one you were begging for. He saw what you couldn't see. He heard what you didn't say. And now he's about to do what only he can do, not because you earned it, not because you figured it all out, but because you trusted him when it didn't make sense. That trust. That's what moved heaven. And I need you to hear this too. Don't be surprised if resistance rises right before the release. Don't be shocked if warfare intensifies just as the breakthrough arrives. The enemy doesn't fight what isn't valuable. If it's coming under attack, it's because it carries glory. And the greater the opposition, the greater the confirmation that God is up to something powerful. So don't run, don't retreat. Stand, stay anchored, stay expectant, because your preparation wasn't in vain. Your pain wasn't pointless. It was prophetic. The things that were delayed are now being delivered. The things that were hidden are now being revealed. And the things that were once broken in your life are being used as foundations for the new. But you must be ready, not just with open hands, but with a ready heart. God doesn't just want to give you something. He wants to entrust you with something. He's not just blessing you, he's building you. And what he's building in you is meant to last. So open your eyes, look around you, pay attention. The shift has already begun. The favor is already unfolding. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to force it. You just have to receive it. God's timing is not random. It is sacred. It is intentional. And it is now. The time for wondering is over. The time for doubting is done. Step forward, not just in hope, but in holy confidence. You are no longer waiting. You are walking into what was already yours. This is your moment, not because everything is perfect, but because everything has been prepared. And when God prepares you, nothing can stop you. Not fear, not opposition, not delay. You've been forged in fire. You've been covered in grace. You've been set apart for such a time as this. So walk in, eyes open, spirit steady, heart surrendered, because everything that tried to break you only built you. And now everything he promised is breaking through. Not someday, not soon, but now. Beloved chosen ones, there is one thing you must understand clearly. You didn't come this far to be abandoned. You didn't walk through all those valleys, cry all those tears, endure all that waiting just for God to leave you hanging on the edge. No, what you've been going through wasn't just hardship. It was holy preparation. What looked like silence was God arranging the scene. And now you are stepping into the hour where divine intervention meets restoration. You see, we just talked about how the testing of your faith is not punishment, it's the pressing that produces power. But what happens after the pressing? What happens when the olive is given its oil, when the crushing has done its work? I'll tell you what happens. Restoration begins. And not just restoration like getting back what you lost, but restoration with increased restoration, with purpose restoration that's been shaped by the hand of God Himself. So don't you dare think for a second that God's been absent. Just because He's been quiet doesn't mean He's been still. Heaven has been moving on your behalf. And some of you, listen to me now, some of you are about to see the fruit of prayers you thought went unnoticed. You're about to walk into rooms that you didn't even know had your name written on the door. Because while you were waiting, God was working. While you were sleeping, God was sowing. While you were questioning, God was constructing that closed door. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. That delay, it wasn't denial, it was design. God has been preparing not just the promise, but preparing you to hold it, sustain it, walk in it, live in it without losing your soul in the process. And let me speak this over your life. You are about to step into a season where you will no longer survive on what was. You are stepping into newness. And I don't mean a small upgrade. I'm talking about the kind of breakthrough that redefines you. The kind of restoration that makes people say, wait, is that the same person? Yes, but no, because the same you went through a transformation only the fire could bring. The same you stayed faithful, even when no one saw you. The same you kept praying, kept giving, kept hoping, when everything in you wanted to walk away, and God saw all of it. You didn't think those tears were wasted, did you? You didn't think those lonely nights had no purpose, did you? Every tear, every ache, every silent scream that only God heard, it was building something eternal in you. And now it's time for release. Now it's time for restoration. But listen, restoration doesn't mean a return to what was. Restoration is not God putting you back where you started. No, God is advancing you. Restoration means He's restoring what the locusts ate. He's renewing what time tried to wear down. He's replacing what the enemy stole, and He's doing it in His timing. That's the key right there, God's timing. It's not always your timing, but it is always right. Some of you have been frustrated because you've been counting time instead of trusting the one who created it. You've been watching the clock and wondering, when God, how much longer? And God's been saying, trust me. I don't need time, I use time. He uses time to mature the promise, to build the foundation, to protect you from what your own impatience would destroy. Don't miss this. Sometimes God's greatest mercy is His delay. Because you thought you were ready, but you didn't see the trap ahead. You thought you could handle the weight, but God knew it would crush you unless He strengthened you first. So He allowed the pause, but not to punish you, to preserve you, to prepare you. And now comes the moment where heaven begins to align. Now comes the moment when the wait starts to make sense. Now comes the moment when God says, step into it. Step into what I've prepared for you. Step into the healing. Step into the relationship that honors me. Step into the opportunity that no man can take from you. Step into the restoration of your identity, your peace, your purpose. But don't walk in doubting. Don't walk in with a heart full of fear. Don't let the long wait make you believe that God forgot. He hasn't forgotten. He's been remembering every word He ever spoke over you, and His word doesn't return void. So don't come into this moment still carrying the weight of yesterday. This is a new day. This is a new door. Walk through it with holy confidence. And let me tell you something else. This isn't just about you. Your restoration is going to ripple. When God restores you, He restores everything through you. Your children will feel it. Your community will feel it. Your purpose will shift atmospheres. That's how big our God is. He doesn't do small miracles. He does exceedingly abundantly above all you could ask or think. So what do now? You stay in position. You stay ready. Because restoration doesn't knock twice. When the door opens, you walk through. You don't need every answer. You don't need perfect understanding. You just need faith. You need to trust that what God began, He will complete. God didn't bring you through all that to leave you halfway. He is the author and the finisher, not just the starter. He finishes what He begins, and what He's beginning in you right now in this very moment is a season of divine restoration. So open your heart, lift up your head, and get ready to receive what has your name on it. Because no eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind has imagined what God has prepared for those who love Him. That's you, beloved. That's your name in the plan. That's your future in His hands. Trust Him. Walk forward. Your restoration is not coming. It has already begun. My dear friends, let's pause for a moment and reflect on where we've come from. We've walked through the silence. We've endured the season of being hidden, the moments when heaven seemed quiet and we asked ourselves, is God still with me? But now, chosen ones, we stand at the threshold of something new. The divine has not only intervened, but the process of restoration is unfolding before our eyes. And in this moment, it's not just about what God is doing around you, it's about what He's doing in you. Because restoration, real restoration, begins with the revival of hope. The dreams you once buried, the promises you gave up on, the prayers that went unanswered for so long, they are not forgotten. They are being resurrected not just for nostalgia's sake, but because now you are finally ready to carry them with strength and clarity. You see, when we talk about restoration, we're not talking about God giving you back the exact same thing you lost in the same condition. You left it. No, we serve a God of multiplication, a God who doesn't return void. He rebuilds what was broken, but stronger. He restores what was taken, but deeper. And He resurrects what was dead, but with purpose. But before He does all that externally, He must do something inside of you. The delay wasn't a denial, it was divine development. The waiting season wasn't a waste, it was a workshop. God was refining your soul, shaping your character, stretching your faith, so you wouldn't just receive the blessing, you'd know how to steward it. Some of you thought the dream had died. You let it go. Life got in the way. Disappointments piled up. The voices of doubt grew louder than the whispers of faith. But I came here to tell you today, God never canceled the assignment. He was simply preparing you for its fulfillment in a way you could never imagine. That business you wanted to launch, that calling you felt years ago, that idea that burned in your spirit and then faded, it's all coming back. Not in a flood that overwhelms you, but in a flow that blesses you. Why? Because God is not reckless with restoration. He doesn't just pour out blessings without first preparing vessels. And now you are the vessel, molded, matured, ready. I need you to understand, restoration is not just about what you get, it's about who you become. The future that God has for you requires a version of you that is healed, that is grounded, that is grateful. You couldn't walk into this future with the same mindset you had when you gave up. That old thinking had to be broken. The fear had to be exposed. The pride had to be stripped away. And the humility you carry now, that wasn't weakness. That was the strength God was building. You didn't lose hope. You outgrew shallow hope and gained unshakable faith. There's a reason why God didn't let it happen earlier. You would have rushed it. You would have mishandled it. You would have made it about you. But now your heart is different. Now you know the cost of waiting. Now you know the value of peace. Now you know the difference between what is good and what is God, and that's why this time it's going to last, because it's not built on impulse, it's built on intimacy with Him. It's not based on emotion, it's rooted in trust. God is restoring not just your dreams, but your capacity to believe again. Some of you haven't prayed bold prayers in years. You've settled, you've accepted this is just how life is, but God is shaking that mindset. He's breaking off resignation. He's reviving expectation. He's saying to you, get your hopes up again. Not because of wishful thinking, but because of spiritual clarity. Because now your hope is anchored. It's not in circumstances. It's not in people. It's in the one who never changes. And let's be honest, restoration can be scary. When you've been hurt, when you've been disappointed, when you've failed before, it's easy to protect yourself by playing small, by dreaming less, by refusing to risk your heart again. But God didn't create you for small living. He didn't save you to be safe. He called you to rise, to run, to rebuild, to believe again. And yes, it may feel vulnerable, but that's the soil where faith grows. Not in certainty, but in surrender. Let me remind you of something powerful, what God restores. He strengthens. The broken places in your story aren't the end of the story. They are the beginning of a new chapter 1 where your pain becomes wisdom, where your tears become testimony. You were not left behind, you were being led differently. It looked like a detour, but it was divine. The things you thought disqualified you are the very things God will use to qualify you. That's why Scripture says He gives beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, a garment of praise for a spirit of heaviness. He's not just putting you back together, He's making you whole. Now that your hope has been restored, it's time to prepare. Restoration without preparation is a missed opportunity. God is not calling you back into the same patterns. He's calling you forward into new levels of purpose. That means getting ready in practical ways. If you've been called to lead, it's time to study leadership. If you've been called to write, it's time to make room in your life to write. If you've been called to speak, it's time to open your mouth in small rooms before you're sent to big ones. Preparation is not about perfection, it's about participation in what God is already doing. And let me speak this into your spirit. Right now, you are not too late. You haven't missed it. God's timing is still right on time. The years you thought were wasted, He's redeeming them. The energy you thought was drained, He's replenishing it. The hope you thought was gone, He's reviving it. And the future you feared might never come, it's on the horizon and it's holy. Not because everything will be easy, but because now you know the one who walks with you through every valley and every victory. So lift your head, straighten your back. Take a breath. Because this next chapter is not just about surviving, it's about soaring. It's about stepping into what you were made for with the confidence that you are not alone. You were never alone. The same God who whispered in the silence, who carried you through the shadows, who held you when you didn't even know you were being held, He is now calling you forward. Not in fear, not in striving, but in peace, in power, in purpose. Restoration is not a moment, it's a movement, and you're in it. You are a living, breathing example of what it looks like when God rewrites a story, not by erasing the past, but by redeeming it. Your restoration is not the end, it's the launching pad for what's next. So don't look back with regret, look forward with resolve, because the best of your story hasn't been written yet. The chapter ahead is not about what was lost, it's about what is being found, what is being formed, and what is being fulfilled. And so I leave you with this. Get ready. Prepare your heart, clear the distractions, open your hands, because what God is restoring is not small, it's not safe, it's sacred, and it's for such a time as this. Welcome to the beginning of your next. Beloved chosen ones, there is a sacred strength that rises not in the sunshine but in the storm. It is not in the moment when everything is going right that your faith is forged, but in the moment when you can't see the light yet, you still choose to believe. And maybe today somebody here is standing in that place. You've come through seasons of confusion, of silence, of struggle, but here's what the Spirit of the Lord is declaring over you right now. Hold the line, stand firm, because you are closer than ever before, not just to a breakthrough, but to the very purpose for which you were created. And the God who walked with you through the fire has not brought you this far just to leave you standing in the ashes. No, He has prepared something greater, but in order to receive what He has prepared, you've got to remain steady in your faith. You've got to stand in the posture of readiness, because the blessing He's about to pour into your life requires the stability of someone who has learned how to trust Him even when it didn't make sense. I know it hasn't been easy. I know there were nights you cried yourself to sleep, mornings you got up and wondered if it was even worth trying again. I know what it's like to have more questions than answers, to walk by faith when your feet are trembling. But I came to remind you of this truth: God has been with you every step of the way. He has not only seen your tears, He has collected them. He has not only watched your suffering, He has used it to build something in you that comfort could never produce. He has been preparing you, shaping you, fortifying your soul. And now you stand at the edge of something you cannot yet see, but your spirit can sense it. You can feel the shift in the atmosphere. You know that something is about to break open. But before it does, God says, be firm in your faith. Don't let the winds of fear shake your foundation. Don't let the voice of doubt steal the harvest that is already growing underneath the surface. There is a weight to the blessing that's coming. It's not a small thing. It's not a quick fix. It's not a temporary relief. It is restoration. It is elevation. It is multiplication. But hear me now. Blessing without preparation can crush you. That's why God didn't answer every prayer when you asked. That's why He held some things back. Not because He was punishing you, but because He was protecting you. He wanted you to grow into the kind of person who could carry what He was getting ready to release. And now He's telling you that the preparation is nearing its completion. Now He's saying, trust me just a little longer. Stay faithful just a little longer, because the doors I'm about to open cannot be shut by man. The opportunities I'm about to release will not come from hustle or manipulation, but from the hand of heaven. But I need your faith to be anchored. I need your heart to be whole. I need your eyes to stay on me and not the distractions, because the blessing is too big for you to miss it by getting weary in the final hour. You didn't survive all of that just to return to the same level. You didn't make it through the storm to sit back in safety. No, God's about to use you in a way that shocks even you. He's going to bring clarity to your confusion, beauty to your brokenness, purpose to your pain. But He needs your posture to stay grounded in faith. So lift your head, even if it's heavy. Strengthen your knees, even if they're weak. Speak His promises over your life, even if your voice shakes. This is the moment where faith becomes sight, where preparation meets purpose. Don't despise the process. Don't resent the waiting, because all of it, all the fire, the tears, the tests, it's all been preparing you for now. And I need you to hear this. The presence of pain did not mean the absence of God. He was right there with you. In the silence, He was whispering strength. In the dark, He was planting vision. When people walked away, He was revealing who never would. When the resources dried up, He was teaching you to trust the source. And when it looked like everything was falling apart, He was actually putting the pieces together in a way that would serve your future. So don't lose heart. Don't walk away now. The blessing is not coming, it's already begun. You are already standing in the place where restoration is taking root, and soon what was only seen by faith will become visible by sight. So if you've been asking God when this is your answer soon, but stay ready, stay expectant, keep keep your oil full and your lamps burning. Because when the blessing shows up, it will come suddenly, but you won't be surprised because you'll know you were built for this. Every trial, every lesson, every lonely night has equipped you for what's coming. You are not empty. You are full of wisdom, full of strength, full of fire. And that fire is about to light up the path that leads to your next season. So walk boldly, speak life, show up with faith, even if fear tries to tag along, because fear doesn't get to lead anymore. Faith does. And faith tells you that the God who carried you here will carry you through. Now lift your eyes, not to the problem, not to the pressure, but to the promise. God is not a man that he should lie. If he said it, he will do it. If he spoke it, it will come to pass. And if he allowed the pain, he will use it to bring forth power. So stay in position, stay in praise, stay in pursuit, because you are not waiting in vain. You are waiting with purpose. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. And when God says now, nothing and no one will be able to stop what he's about to release into your life. And finally, let me leave you with this. Don't mistake delay for denial. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not coming. In fact, the delay has been the very soil that's been cultivating deeper roots in you. Roots of patience, of wisdom, of discernment. Because where you're going, you won't have time to second guess God. Where he's taking you, you'll need to move with confidence. And that confidence is not built in the mountaintop, it's built in the valley. So thank him for the valley. Thank him for the no's. Thank him for the closed doors. Because every one of them brought you closer to this moment. And now as you stand at the edge of breakthrough, don't hold back. Don't hesitate. Lift your hands, open your heart and say, God, I'm ready. I trust you. I receive everything you've prepared for me. Because this is not just a season of recovery, it's a season of reward. Not just for what you did, but for who you became. You stayed faithful. You kept walking. You kept believing. And now heaven is about to respond. So hold on, stay grounded and get ready. The blessing is not on the way, it's already in motion. Beloved chosen ones, I know you've been walking with your head down, wondering when it's finally going to happen. You've been showing up, praying and staying the course, even when the night got darker and the winds blew harder. But here's what I need you to hear. Now, God has not forgotten the seeds you planted in faith. He saw the tears you cried behind closed doors. He saw you praise him when everything was falling apart. And that's the faith. He responds to not desperation, not fear, but quiet, unwavering trust. This is not about begging God to show up. This is about trusting that he already has. When you stood firm, when you refused to give up, when you believed without proof, that's when heaven started moving. God doesn't need panic to perform. He responds to faith, faith that says, even if I don't see it yet, I know my Redeemer lives. Faith that whispers, I don't understand the delay, but I still believe. See, a lot of people think if they cry louder, God will hear them better. If they panic harder, maybe they'll get a miracle quicker. But faith doesn't scream in fear. Faith stands in peace. Because faith knows that God isn't pressured by time. He's not late. He's strategic. He's surgical. He's intentional. And while you were thinking he was silent, he was actually building the very thing you've been praying for. He was orchestrating something so tailored, so perfect, that it couldn't be rushed. Some of you have been asking, why hasn't it happened yet? Let me tell you why. Because God loves you too much to give you something you're not ready to carry. Because what he's preparing for you isn't just a blessing, it's a legacy. It's not a temporary high, it's an eternal purpose. And eternal purposes take time. So don't mistake delay for denial. Don't confuse silence for absence. God has been there the whole time, holding back the floodgates until your heart was strong enough to hold the weight of what's coming. This is the season where your faith has to walk. You've talked about believing. You've prayed about trusting. Now it's time to act like you believe. Faith without action is empty. It's like standing at the edge of the promised land but refusing to cross over. You want the walls of Jericho to fall, but you're not willing to march. You want the sea to part, but you won't take the first step. You want the miracle, but you're not living like it's already on the way. Faith acts. It shows up. It moves forward. It steps into the unknown with the confidence that God goes before it. You don't wait to feel ready. You move. When he says move, even if everything inside you is trembling, because obedience isn't about comfort, it's about trust. And right now, God is calling you to trust him enough to move before you see it, before you feel it, before it makes sense. And let me tell you something powerful. God has already scheduled your breakthrough. You're not waiting on him. He's waiting on your alignment. He's waiting for your action to match your declaration. He's waiting for your walk to match your talk. You said you believe, then start walking like it. Start talking like it. Start preparing like it. You don't need a sign. You need to move. Think about Abraham. God told him he would be the father of many nations, but he didn't see it right away. Still, he left his home. Still, he walked in obedience. Still, he built altars in foreign lands. Why? Because faith moves. Faith doesn't need full clarity to take the first step. Faith obeys. Faith trusts that if God said it, he'll do it even when your situation says the opposite. And you right now are standing in that same invitation. God is asking, will you move based on his word, not your worry? Will you step forward even when the door looks closed? Will you build even when the materials look scarce? That's the kind of faith that shifts atmospheres. That's the kind of trust that unlocks heaven. That's the kind of obedience that births miracles. God is not asking for perfection. He's asking for movement. He's not demanding performance. He's drawing out your faith. And some of you have been so focused on the finish line, you forgot the power is in the step. Each step forward is an act of war against fear. Each choice to obey is a declaration that your God is bigger than your feelings, stronger than your circumstances, and faithful beyond your comprehension. And I get it, it's hard. It's hard to keep moving when you're tired. It's hard to believe when nothing looks like what he promised. But that's where trust is forged. That's where warriors are born. Not in comfort, but in commitment. Not in ease, but in endurance. And I'm telling you right now, God is about to reward your endurance. He's about to crown your obedience. He's about to turn your quiet trust into loud testimony. So walk. Walk like it's already yours. Praise like it's already done. Prepare like the rain is coming. Don't wait for it to make sense. Move because he said so. Act because you trust him. Step out because you believe his word is more real than your fear. This is how breakthroughs are born, not in the panic of begging, but in the power of believing. God is watching how you carry this season. He's watching whether your steps reflect your prayers. He's not looking for perfect performance. He's looking for persistent faith. And if you can keep moving even when it doesn't make sense, even when it hurts, even when you feel forgotten, then heaven starts moving on your behalf. Because that kind of faith is rare. That kind of faith gets God's attention. That kind of faith moves mountains. You're not just waiting, you're becoming. You're not just praying, you're preparing. You're not just hoping, you're stepping. And with every step you're declaring, God, I trust you more than I trust what I see. This is your moment. This is your call to action. You've asked, you've waited. Now walk. Don't just hope for the blessing, position yourself for it. Don't just dream about the promise, live like it's already unfolding. Because it is. Heaven is aligning things you can't see. Doors are being built that only you will be able to walk through. And all God needs is your faith in motion. So rise up, shake off the doubt, wipe away the fear, and take the step, not because you feel brave, but because you trust the one who goes before you, the one who promised to never leave you, the one who called you by name before you were even born. He's been faithful. He's been present. He's been preparing. And now he's saying, move. Because I'm about to show you what happens when faith walks. Not panicked, not striving, just faith. Real, raw, unshakable faith. The kind that moves even when the ground feels shaky. The kind that builds when the sky looks dry. The kind that keeps showing up even when nothing seems to change. That's the kind of faith God honors. And that's the kind of faith you're being called to walk in now. So walk with boldness, walk with purpose, walk with peace. Not because of what you see, but because of who you know. The author, the finisher, the promise keeper, the waymaker, your God. He's with you, he's for you, and he's waiting on your step. So take it. My dear friends, you've come this far not just because you survived the hardship, but because you partnered with the one who walks you through it. You didn't get here alone. That quiet strength you carried, that whisper of hope that told you to try again, that wasn't coincidence. That was cooperation. That was faith at work. And now as we move forward, I want to talk to you about something that is deeper than endurance, deeper than hope. I want to talk to you about divine partnership, about walking in unwavering trust, about cooperating with God, because God's greatest miracles don't happen when we sit back and wait. They happen when we say, yes, Lord, and move forward. Even when we don't understand everything, they happen when we trust His plan more than we trust our fears. So tonight, let's talk about what it means to walk in step with God and how that trust opens the door to blessings you can't yet see. See, God isn't just calling you to believe in Him from a distance. He's not up in the sky, dropping down instructions. He's walking with you moment by moment, step by step. And your journey isn't just about what He's doing for you. It's about what He's doing with you. It's a collaboration, a dividence. He calls, you respond. He leads, you follow. And in that flow of movement, trust is the rhythm that keeps you in sync. That's why you can't hesitate every time it gets uncomfortable. That's why you can't pull back when it doesn't make sense. Because the ones who truly see God move are the ones who keep moving with Him. You're not just a servant waiting for orders. You're a partner walking in purpose. Some of us have been taught to only cry out to God in desperation. And yes, He hears those cries. Yes, He answers. But hear me, God isn't moved by panic. God is moved by partnership. Faith isn't just a cry for help. It's a willingness to act in trust, even when you don't feel help yet. When Abraham left his home, he didn't know the full plan, but he trusted the one who gave the promise. When Moses stretched out his staff over the Red Sea, he wasn't acting on logic. He was moving in alignment. That's the kind of trust God is calling you to walk in. That's the kind of faith that builds history with God. It's not flashy. It's not always loud, but it's real. And God responds to it. And here's the truth. God doesn't need perfect people. He needs available people. He needs people who will keep showing up even when they're unsure. People who will keep trusting even when they feel shaken. You don't have to understand the whole blueprint. You just have to trust the builder. God is not asking for your perfection. He's asking for your cooperation. He's asking you to believe that He's still good when the situation feels bad. He's asking you to trust that He's still working when you don't see results yet. That's the kind of relationship He desires. Not one built on rules or fear, but one rooted in love and partnership. You see, when you trust Him like that, it changes how you move. You stop trying to control everything. You stop needing all the answers. You start flowing in peace. You start walking in purpose. That's not passivity. That's power under control. That's confidence rooted in something deeper than circumstance. You begin to act, not because you're trying to force the outcome, but because you know who's already written the outcome. That's divine partnership. That's the kind of relationship that produces fruit, not just survival, but abundance. Not just moments of peace, but a lifestyle of trust. And let me say this to the one who's still wrestling. God is not waiting for you to have all your emotions in order before he partners with you. He's not looking for the strongest. He's looking for the willing. He's looking for the ones who will take him at his word. He's looking for the ones who say, God, I don't see it, but I'll still walk. God, I don't feel it, but I'll still trust. That's when you start to see doors open. That's when the favor begins to chase you down. Not because you were perfect, but because you stayed in step. Partnership with God is not a one-time decision. It's a daily agreement. Every morning you wake up and say, yes, Lord, I'll follow, I'll trust again today. And there will be days when that yes is costly. There will be days when your feelings don't match your faith. But that's when it matters most. That's when trust becomes a weapon. That's when the enemy gets nervous. Because a person who walks in consistent trust with God is dangerous, not to themselves, but to every lie the enemy has spoken over them. You become a living contradiction to the fear that tried to stop you. You become a walking testimony of what it means to walk in step with heaven. And when that trust gets deep, you'll start to see how God has been weaving things together the whole time. You'll look back on seasons that confused you and see they were preparing you. You'll remember nights you cried yourself to sleep and realize God was catching every tear, storing them and using them to water the blessing that would later bloom. Nothing is wasted in this partnership. No pain, no delay, no unanswered prayers ever lost. It's all part of the story. And the more you trust, the more you'll see. So let me ask you, what would it look like for you to fully cooperate with God right now, not in a year? Not when you feel more ready. Right now, what step is he asking you to take? What fear is he asking you to surrender? What decision is he calling you to trust him with? You don't have to have all the confidence in yourself, just enough trust in him. That's all he's ever needed. That's all he's asking for tonight. Because when you live like that, your life starts to echo something eternal. You don't just go through things, you grow through them. You don't just wait for blessings, you walk with the blesser. You don't just ask for peace, you carry it. And that's the kind of life God is inviting you into. A life of rhythm, of purpose, of peace that passes understanding. That's the life of someone who partners with heaven. So tonight I challenge you to stop trying to figure everything out and start leaning into the trust that brought you this far. Stop asking when and start saying yes. Because the moment you fully align your life with God's plan is the moment you'll realize he's been waiting for your trust to catch up to his promise. He's been preparing the blessing. He's been arranging the timing. He's just been waiting on your agreement. This is more than inspiration. This is invitation. Not just to believe, but to walk, to act, to live like someone who knows that the creator of the universe is walking with them. And if God is with you, then who or what can stop you? So walk in it. Partner with him, trust him, and watch what he will do. Chosen ones. Do you know after you've walked the hard road of faith, after you've stood your ground when nothing made sense, after you've refused to give up when your emotions told you to quit, there comes a moment when God whispers, now let go. Not because he's forgotten about you, not because he's punishing you, but because surrender is the last act of trust before a new season begins. And that's what we're stepping into now. If you've walked with me through the trials, the pruning, the preparation, then this next step isn't about striving, it's about surrender. This is the moment where God is saying, I've seen your fight. I've seen your faith. Now I need you to trust me with everything. And that is not easy, because most of us don't realize how tightly we're still holding on. We hold on to our timelines. We grip our expectations. We try to manage the outcome even after we say we've given it to God. But true surrender isn't saying, God, take it if you want. True surrender is saying, God, I trust you so much, I'll stop trying to fix this on my own. I'll stop wrestling with outcomes. I was never meant to control. You see, God doesn't need you to figure out the how. He needs you to yield your heart. When a seed is planted in the ground, it doesn't fight the soil. It doesn't argue about the darkness. It just yields, and in that surrender, life begins to grow. That's what he's doing in you. He's not asking you to give up your purpose. He's asking you to give up your panic. He's not asking you to throw away your dream. He's asking you to stop clinging to it so tightly that you forget who gave it to you in the first place. Because if you gave yourself the dream, then sure, it's up to you to make it happen. But if God gave it to you, if it was planted by his hands, then it will grow in his time by his spirit and for his glory. And that means you can stop striving and start trusting. Let me tell you something, friend. The hardest thing for many of us isn't faith, it's letting go. Because letting go feels like weakness, it feels like failure. But in the kingdom of God, surrender isn't defeat, it's positioning. It's when you take your hands off the wheel and say, Lord, you drive. I trust your route, I trust your speed, I trust your destination. And it's in that moment of yieldedness that God begins to do what you could never do on your own. Some of you are standing on the edge of breakthrough, but you're still clinging to your blueprint. You're still trying to write your own script, and God is saying, let me take it from here. Now, don't misunderstand. Surrender doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean laziness. It means obedience. It means you keep showing up where he told you to be, but you stop trying to control what only he can do. You keep walking in what he spoke over you, but you stop analyzing the process. You do what he asked, and you trust him with what he promised. That's surrender. That's trust in action. That's the posture of someone who's ready for blessing. See, the reason surrender is so critical right now is because God is preparing to pour out something that requires empty hands. You can't receive with clenched fists. You can't be filled when you're still holding on to what needs to be released. So before the blessing shows up in visible form, God often asks for invisible surrender. He asks for your fear. He asks for your control. He asks for your expectations. Not to hurt you, but to make room in you. Because what's coming is greater than anything you could have imagined. But you won't be ready for it if you're still carrying yesterday's burdens. Sometimes God doesn't delay the blessing because he's not ready. He delays it because we're not surrendered. We say we're waiting on God, but God's waiting on us. He's waiting for the moment we truly trust him enough to say, even if you take me down a road I don't understand, I know you're still good. That's where freedom begins. That's where peace settles. That's where power flows. When you lay your agenda down at his feet and say, have your way, Lord, something shifts. You're no longer striving. You're surrendered. And when a heart is surrendered, heaven moves. God's not asking for your perfection. He's asking for your permission. Will you let him lead? Will you let him surprise you? Will you let him rewrite the story you were trying so hard to control? Because what he has for you doesn't require your manipulation. It requires your obedience. And when you give him your yes, even when it feels risky, even when it feels like a free fall, that's where faith takes flight. That's when miracles find an open door. That's when God begins to release things into your life you didn't even know you needed. Let me speak to the one who feels like they've done everything right but still haven't seen the fruit. Maybe you've prayed, maybe you've believed, maybe you've walked in integrity and held on to hope, but still, nothing. Can I tell you something that may sound backwards? Sometimes the silence is God's final test, not to crush you, but to clear you, to empty you of all remaining self-reliance, so that when the blessing comes, you'll know exactly who it came from. That's the kind of preparation surrender brings. It sets the stage for a testimony that shouts, this was all God. You don't have to fear what's coming Because if God is leading, then what's coming is good. Even if it doesn't look like what you planned, His thoughts are higher. His timing is perfect. And His intention is always love. So when He asks you to let go, it's not a loss, it's a setup. When He calls you to surrender, it's not rejection, it's redirection. He's clearing the path. He's tilling the soil. He's preparing you to carry something that's heavy with His glory. But first, you've got to empty yourself of everything that's not Him. Chosen ones, I know it's not easy. I know surrender feels like standing on the edge of a cliff with no guarantee. But I also know the character of the one who's calling you. He's never dropped anyone who trusted Him. He's never failed to catch a surrendered heart. And He's not about to start now. So let go. Not because it's comfortable, but because He's trustworthy. Release it. Not because you figured it all out, but because He already has. Yield. Not because it makes sense, but because it's safe in His hands. As we come to this moment together, I want you to picture the thing you've been holding on to. Maybe it's a timeline. Maybe it's a promise. Maybe it's a person, and I want you to hear God saying, give it to me. Not because He wants to take it away forever, but because He wants to bless it in a way you never could. He's preparing you. He's positioning you. And He's inviting you to trust Him in a way you never have before. The blessing is coming, but the blessing waits for surrender. So if you're ready to receive what only God can give, then let this be the moment you lay it all down. Let this be the day you say, God, not my will, but yours. And when you do, when you surrender fully, not just with your words, but with your posture, get ready. Because eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, and no mind has imagined what He has prepared for those who love Him. But it starts with surrender. It begins with trust, and it ends in glory. My dear friends, when I look back at where you've come from, what you've walked through, what you've survived, I don't see someone who's broken or beaten down. No, I see someone who's been primed for renewal. I see someone who's being prepared for something greater than what they've ever imagined. And I need you to hear me now, not with your ears, but with your spirit. You are not in a season of ending. You are in a season of becoming. The pain you endured wasn't to destroy you, it was to prepare the soil of your heart for a brand new planting. It's not over for you. It's just beginning. You may not have seen the evidence yet, but God is already shifting things in your favor. And I've come here today to tell you this one truth renewal is coming, and it starts in you. Now listen, when God begins a new thing, He doesn't always announce it with fireworks. Sometimes He starts with the silent places, the invisible work, the heart work. And I know some of you are tired of waiting, tired of hoping, tired of believing when you can't see the fruit yet. But hear me, just because it hasn't appeared in the natural doesn't mean it isn't happening in the spiritual. You don't plant a seed and dig it up the next day to see if it's growing. You water it, you protect it, and you trust the process. That's what God is doing in you right now. He's renewing your strength, your clarity, your direction, your very identity, but He's doing it from the inside out. See, some of us have been trying to bring an old mindset into a new season, and that's why it feels like nothing's moving. You can't step into what God has next with the habits of what held you back. You can't carry yesterday's disappointment into tomorrow's promise. So if you've been wondering why certain doors shut or why some people left, let me tell you, God was pruning you. He was clearing out what couldn't come with you. He was making space for the renewal that's already on its way. That wasn't rejection. That was redirection. I've learned that the greatest breakthroughs often begin with the greatest obedience. And obedience doesn't always look like doing something big. Sometimes it looks like staying when you want to run. Sometimes it looks like believing when your emotions are screaming otherwise. It looks like standing in faith when everything around you says quit. That's how renewal begins. Not with noise, but with a whisper in your spirit saying, keep going, keep trusting, keep believing. Because what God is about to bring into your life won't look like what you lost. It will be better, deeper, stronger, more aligned with who you were created to be. I want to speak to the one who feels disqualified. You think your past is too messy, your decisions too wrong, your mistakes too loud. But let me remind you, God is not looking for perfection, He's looking for surrender. He's not waiting for you to get everything right before He renews you. No, He's waiting for your heart to say, "Here I am, Lord. Use me, heal me, change me." And when you open that door, even just a crack, He rushes in with mercy, with grace, with vision for your life that you've never even dared to dream. Renewal is not just about getting back what you lost. It's about being transformed into who you were meant to be. God is not restoring you to your former self. He's renewing you into a stronger, wiser, more faithful version of you. And let me tell you, that version of you is necessary for the future He has prepared. That version of you is ready for elevation, for expansion, for impact, but it starts with a decision. Will you allow Him to renew you? Will you surrender your timelines, your doubts, your fears, and simply say, "Lord, I trust you." When I gave up trying to control the outcome, when I stopped demanding answers and started offering obedience, that's when things began to shift. That's when I started seeing doors open I never knocked on. That's when opportunities came I didn't chase. Because God honors those who walk by faith, not by sight. And faith doesn't mean you always feel strong. Faith means you say yes even when you're shaking. You show up even when you're unsure. You keep praying even when you're tired of waiting. That's the kind of heart God renews. That's the kind of spirit He promotes. Some of you have been in a dry place for so long you forgot what rain feels like. But I'm here to declare the drought is over. Rain is coming. Restoration is coming. Clarity is coming. Not because you earned it, but because God is faithful to finish what He started. He didn't bring you this far to leave you in the middle. He didn't plant a seed in your soul to watch it wither. No, He's the God who brings life from dead things, who turns ashes into beauty, who makes a way where there was no way. That's the kind of God you serve. So don't give up before the breakthrough. Don't quit before the promise. Let me talk to you about preparation. Because renewal without preparation leads to frustration. God is preparing you now for what you prayed for then. That closed door, preparation. That lonely season, preparation. That delay, preparation. Every unanswered prayer, every uncomfortable moment, every stretch of silence, it wasn't wasted. It was preparing your character, your endurance, your humility, your capacity. So when the blessing comes, you won't be overwhelmed. You'll be ready, you'll be rooted, you'll be able to carry what's coming without collapsing under its weight. I've seen people ask for elevation, but they don't want to be developed. They want the promise without the process. But God loves you too much to promote you without preparing you. That's why the renewal starts now, in private, in the quiet places, in the hard places. Don't despise the preparation, embrace it. Let God refine you, redefine you, rebuild you, because He's not just renewing what's around you, He's renewing what's in you. And that's the foundation for everything else that's coming. So if you're feeling stretched right now, if life feels uncomfortable, unfamiliar, uncertain, that's often the sign that you're right where you need to be. Discomfort is the soil where growth happens. It's the evidence that you're not stuck, you're shifting. You're being pulled out of old patterns, old pain, old cycles, and into something new. Don't fight the stretch. Lean into it. Trust that God is doing something bigger than what you can see right now. And when you can't trace His hand, trust His heart. He's for you. He's with you. He's ahead of you. I need you to see yourself differently now. You're not broken. You're being rebuilt. You're not rejected. You're being redirected. You're not lost. You're being led. That's what renewal looks like. And when it fully comes, you won't just step into your future, you'll step into it equipped, empowered, and enlightened. You'll look back on this season not with regret, but with reverence. Because you'll see that everything, every delay, every detour, every disappointment was leading you right here. to this moment, to this version of you. So let's not waste this season. Let's lean into it. Let's embrace the renewal. Let's trust that God's not finished and what's ahead is greater than what's behind. Because if he said he's doing a new thing, you can believe it. He's making rivers in your wilderness, pathways in your desert, and purpose out of your pain. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready. I'm ready for what's next. I'm ready for the new. I'm ready for the renewal. My dear friends, do you know one of the greatest revelations in my life came when I realized that God never left me? Not once. Even when I couldn't feel him, even when I was lost in the dark, when I was broken, when I was tired, when I was ashamed, when I doubted myself, he was there. And the thing is, some of you are standing in that same place right now. You've been through loss. You've been through heartache. You've been betrayed, overlooked, abandoned. You've been trying to hold it all together while your soul quietly falls apart behind a smile. But I came here to tell you something that I know without a shadow of a doubt God has been with you through it all. Through every storm, every heartbreak, every tear you cried when nobody else was watching. And he wasn't just standing by, he was preparing something. Now hear me, because this isn't just a feel-good message. This is a declaration of truth. God is not only a healer, he is a restorer. And that means he doesn't just patch you up and send you back into the world the same way. No, he rebuilds, he redefines, he renews, and he restores what was lost, what was broken, what was stolen. He takes what the enemy tried to destroy and he brings it back to life with power. That's what he's doing right now in your life. Whether you see it or not, whether you feel it or not. And I know it's hard to see that when you're still sitting in the ruins. I know it's hard to believe when the pain still lingers, but restoration is not always instant. Sometimes it's slow, it's sacred, and it's strategic. Let me tell you something. I learned the hard way. The delay is not the denial. God's silence doesn't mean his absence. In fact, some of the loudest moves of God happen in the quiet. That space between the breakdown and the breakthrough, between the pain and the promise, that's where he does his deepest work. When nobody's clapping, when nobody sees the progress, when you're just surviving off of faith and breath, that's where restoration begins. That's where he lays the foundation for what's coming next. And what's coming next. It's not just recovery, it's blessing, it's joy, it's elevation. But you've got to be willing to trust him through the process, not just the outcome. See, the truth is God already prepared the blessing. He's just preparing you to receive it. Did you hear me? The blessing already exists. It's already written. It's already waiting. But God won't let you walk into it unprepared, because what he gives, he wants you to sustain. What he restores, he wants you to protect. And sometimes the fire wasn't to destroy you, it was to refine you, to burn off the fear, to cleanse the bitterness, to shape the character inside of you that can handle the weight of what he's about to place in your hands. You thought you were being punished, but you were being prepared. And I know it's tempting to look at others and wonder why their restoration seems faster, easier, flashier. But God's process with you is personal. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not a failure. You are right where you're supposed to be. Because while the world applauds, the visible God honors the hidden. He sees what you've endured in silence, essays your patience, your tears, your worship. When you didn't feel like worshiping, your obedience when it would have been easier to walk away. He sees all of it, and he's not unjust. He's not playing games with your life. He's a builder, a restorer, a father, and your story is not finished. Let me take you even deeper. Restoration is not a return to what was, it's a resurrection into what can be. You don't want what you lost the same way it was before. You want what God is building now. You want the future. He's crafting from the ashes. The thing about ashes is they're evidence, something burned, but also they're the soil where new things grow. And God is not afraid of your ashes. He's not intimidated by the mess. In fact, he specializes in transforming the very thing you thought disqualified you into the very thing that defines your calling. He's not trying to embarrass you. He's trying to empower you. And sometimes before he gives you the blessing, he has to remind you that your identity is not in what you've been through. It's in who he says you are. So if you're still hurting, if you're still healing, if you're still unsure, that's okay. Because restoration is a process. And in that process, God is not just fixing you, he's walking with you. Step by step, day by day. And if you could see what he's preparing for you, you wouldn't be doubting him, you'd be dancing in advance. But that's where faith comes in. That's where the shift happens. That's where you stop measuring your future by your past and start measuring it by God's promise. You start speaking life over your life. You start declaring restoration even before it shows up, because you trust the one who made the promise more than the storm trying to steal it. I've walked through some fire in my life. I've been in rooms that didn't want me. I've faced moments when I didn't think I had what it took. But God was writing a bigger story. He was restoring confidence, restoring vision, restoring purpose. And I'm telling you right now, he's doing the same for you. This isn't the end. This isn't even the middle. This is the turning point. This is where you choose to believe again. This is where you choose to trust again. This is where you say, God, I may not have all the answers, but I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still believing. So lift up your head, square your shoulders, wipe the tears from your eyes, because restoration is already in motion. God is aligning things behind the scenes. He's setting up divine connections, preparing hearts, clearing pathways. He's not done with you. In fact, he's just getting started. And the blessing that's coming, it's going to make sense of every breakdown. It's going to redeem every season of silence. It's going to pour joy into every place that used to ache. But you've got to stay ready. Stay expectant. Stay rooted. Because when it comes, and it will come, you'll realize it was worth every tear, every trial, every test. So here's what I need you to do. Keep showing up. Keep trusting. Keep praising. Don't let what you see fool you. Don't let what you feel distract you. God is faithful. He's been with you in the valley, and he'll be with you on the mountaintop. The same God who held you when you were breaking will carry you when the blessing breaks through. Restoration is not a dream, it's your portion. It's your inheritance. It's your destiny. And no demon in hell, no storm on earth, no voice of doubt can cancel what God has spoken over your life. He said it, and that settles it. You are not disqualified. You are not defeated. You are being restored. You are being prepared. You are being positioned. And when the time comes, when the doors swing open, when the light breaks through, when the blessing arrives, you'll be ready. Not because everything went right, but because you trusted the one who made it all right. That's restoration. That's God. And that's your story. Chosen ones, I told you before that God isn't just watching your journey, he's been in the very details. Every delay, every closed door, every sleepless night where you wondered if anyone was listening, he was there. Now let me take you a step further, because what you thought was punishment was preparation. What you thought was rejection was redirection. What you called a failure, God calls foundation. Foundation for something you couldn't even dream of yet. And it's time to talk about that. It's time to talk about what it means when God prepares you for something bigger than yourself. It's time to talk about trusting in the plan of the Almighty, especially when the path makes no sense at all. Let me tell you something. I had to learn the hard way. The preparation of God doesn't always look like progress. Sometimes it looks like pain. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like going backward. You're praying to move forward, but all you're seeing is everything stalling. But God is saying, I'm not denying you. I'm developing you. I'm pruning you. I'm positioning you. Because the weight of the blessing I'm about to give you requires a deeper strength, a deeper trust, and a deeper surrender than you've ever had before. If I gave it to you too early, it would crush you. But if you walk with me through this preparation, it'll crown you. I want to ask you something personal, something deep. Can you trust a plan you don't understand? Can you still believe when everything around you looks like the opposite of what you were promised? That's the test. That's what separates people who know God from people who only know about God. Because to trust Him means to accept that His wisdom surpasses your understanding. To trust Him means you stop trying to be the architect of your life and you let Him be the master builder. It means that when you can't trace His hand, you still trust His heart. And I'm not saying that's easy. I'm saying it's necessary. You see, God isn't trying to frustrate you. He's trying to fortify you. There's something about walking through dark valleys that builds the kind of faith you can't buy, can't fake, can't shortcut. And many of you have been asking God, why is it taking so long? Why is the door still shut? Why am I still in this place? But here's what I hear God saying to you right now, my child, I haven't forgotten you. I've been preparing you. You were never waiting in vain. You were waiting in wisdom because the promise is still on schedule, but you had to grow into it. Let's talk about Joseph for a second. God gave him a dream, but the dream didn't come true the next day. No, Joseph was betrayed, sold, locked up, falsely accused, forgotten in a prison. That doesn't look like destiny. But every part of it was a piece of the puzzle. And when the time was right, not a minute too early or too late, God elevated Joseph to the very position he was promised. And what did Joseph say at the end? He looked at his brothers and said, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. That's what it means to trust the plan. That's what it means to believe that even the worst parts of your life can be rewritten by the hand of a faithful God. I need you to hear me on this. God does not waste anything, not your mistakes, not your delays, not your tears, not even your confusion. He folds all of it into the plan. And He's been working behind the scenes, orchestrating connections, shifting circumstances, opening hearts, building strength in you that you didn't know you had. The preparation season might not have applause, but it is sacred because it's there that you learn to depend on Him. It's there that you stop relying on talent and start relying on trust. It's there that you realize the blessing is not just what God gives you, it's who you become through the process. And I know you're tired. You've waited, you've prayed, you've hoped, and nothing has seemed to change. But let me tell you something. The silence of God is not the absence of God. Sometimes the teacher is silent during the test. Sometimes the architect doesn't speak while the foundation is being poured. But just because He's quiet doesn't mean He's not moving. Just because you don't see fruit yet doesn't mean the seed isn't growing. Trust is believing that what He said He will do, and that His timing is perfect even when yours is pressed. Maybe you've been comparing your journey to someone else's, watching them take off while you feel stuck on the runway. But hear this, you are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are not left out. You are being prepared for something that fits your calling, not someone else's timeline. When God writes your story, He writes it with eternal perspective. And some of the delays you're frustrated about are actually protections you didn't know you needed. Some of the no's you heard were God's mercy disguised as rejection. Because the plan of God is not just about getting you to a destination. It's about making sure you're the kind of person who can thrive when you arrive. So what do you do while you wait? You prepare. You stay faithful in the small things. You forgive those who hurt you. You let go of what you cannot control. You worship in the waiting. You pray like it's already done. You declare over your life that His plan is still unfolding even when you don't see it yet. Because the enemy wants you to quit before the breakthrough. But God is calling you to hold on just a little longer. You've come too far to give up now. The very thing you've been preparing for is closer than you think. And when it comes, and it will come, you'll look back and understand. You'll see how the pain shaped your perspective. You'll see how the waiting deepened your wisdom. You'll see how the tears watered your testimony. You'll see how every step, even the hard ones, led you to the exact moment God had in mind all along. You'll see that what felt like being stuck was really being secured, that what felt like wandering was actually training, that the silence of God was filled with His sovereign preparation. And when that day comes, I pray you give Him the glory, not just for the blessing, but for the journey that built you into the person who could carry it. So let me leave you with this. You are not just walking into the future. You are walking into a future that has been prepared specifically for you. And if God took the time to prepare it, then take the time to trust Him. Trust that He knows what He's doing. Trust that He's not done with your story. Trust that every trial was training. Trust that the shaking was shaping. Trust that the pain was part of the process. And most of all, trust that the same God who brought you through yesterday is already standing in your tomorrow. You've been prepared for this. And what's coming next won't just bless you. It will redeem everything that tried to break you. So stand strong. Keep your eyes on Him. The plan is still in motion, and your next chapter is about to begin. Now let me tell you something that might not make sense at first, but if you've walked through the night like I have, it will land deep in your spirit. Sometimes the most powerful thing God does is say nothing. No thunder from the sky, no voice from the whirlwind, no angel waking you in the night. Just stillness, just silence, just you and the weight of what you're going through. Now I know we just talked about how God has been preparing you for something greater. I told you how every hard place had a purpose and how His hands were working behind the scenes. But there's another layer to this walk of faith. And it's this: in the silence, in the pause, in the in-between, that's where you begin to see clearly. That's where you hear what noise always drowned out. And that's where God reveals something deeper, something holy, something weighty. There were moments in my life, real moments, when I begged God to answer me. When the pressure was so heavy, I didn't know if I'd make it. I prayed, I cried, I shouted. And do you know what I heard? Nothing. Just still air. Just space, just silence. And I thought maybe He wasn't listening. I thought maybe I'd done something wrong. But now, looking back, I know the silence wasn't punishment. It was preparation. See, silence isn't absence. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is God's way of quieting the world around you so you can hear the whisper within. That whisper, that's Him. And He doesn't shout because He's not far away. He whispers because He's right there, right next to you, closer than the pain, closer than the fear, closer than the questions. He's near, and He's speaking in the stillness. We live in a loud world. Everybody's talking, everybody's posting, everybody's shouting their opinions from rooftops and screens and pulpits and platforms. But God, He speaks in quiet places. That's why He told Elijah to come out to the mountain. There was wind, there was fire, there was earthquake. But God wasn't in the noise. God came in the gentle whisper. He came in the hush. That's the character of our God. He doesn't need to compete with chaos. He brings peace that silences it. And sometimes He allows you to be surrounded by noise only to draw you away from it. Sometimes He leads you into a season where no one calls back, where the doors don't open, where even your prayers feel like they hit the ceiling, not because He's left you, but because He's leading you into a silence that speaks louder than sound. And in that silence, He is birthing clarity. He's unwrapping truth. He's calling you to remember who you really are. Apart from the applause, apart from the validation, apart from the chaos. Let me ask you something. Have you ever sat still long enough to hear your own soul speak? Have you ever stopped scrolling, stopped talking, stopped running just to listen? Because if you haven't, you might be missing the voice of God that doesn't come to entertain, doesn't come to impress, but comes to transform. God speaks in dimensions deeper than volume. His words are soul level. And that means you've got to go low. You've got to get quiet. You've got to tune out the static to hear the Spirit. In the silence, he shows you things you couldn't see before. Things about yourself, things about your past, things about what he's calling you into. It's in the stillness that your awareness sharpens. You stop reacting and you start discerning. You stop panicking and you start perceiving. And when that happens, your vision becomes clear. Not the kind of vision that sees what's in front of you, but the kind that sees why it's there. God gives you eyes to understand the assignment. The pain wasn't random. The delay wasn't punishment. The silence wasn't rejection. It was all preparation for what's next. You know what I learned in the quiet? I learned that peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the presence of God in the middle of problems. I learned that clarity doesn't come from more opinions, it comes from solitude. I learned that maturity isn't proved by how loud you speak, but how deep you can listen. And most of all, I learned that God doesn't need to shout to get your attention. He just needs your stillness. That's why the Bible says, "Be still and know that I am God." Not be busy, not be anxious, not be religious. Be still. And in that stillness, you'll know, not just think, not just hope, but know that He is God. He is sovereign, He is good, He is faithful, and He is present. Even in the silence. So if you're in that place right now where it feels like God is quiet, where it feels like your prayers are unanswered, don't rush out of it. Don't try to fill the silence with noise. Don't numb it with distraction. Sit in it. Let it shape you. Let it soften you. Let it teach you, because that silence, that's holy ground. That's where the deepest truths are whispered. That's where revelation takes root. That's where healing begins, not on the surface, but deep, deep in your soul. And when God speaks out of that silence, you won't just hear Him. You'll know Him. You'll recognize His voice not as a stranger's, but as your Father's. The one who's been there all along. And listen, when the time is right, and it will be right, He will speak again. And when He does, it won't just be to comfort you. It will be to call you, to launch you, to position you for the blessing He's been preparing in silence. Don't mistake the quiet for inactivity. God does some of His greatest work in the dark, in the stillness, in the unseen. Let me say it plain. Your silent season is not a setback. It's a setup. He's sharpening your discernment. He's removing distractions. He's tuning your ears. Because what He's about to speak next will require you to recognize His voice clearly, without confusion, without interference. That's why the silence matters. That's why this part of the journey is sacred. Don't be afraid of the quiet. Embrace it. It's not emptiness, it's invitation. It's not loneliness, it's alignment. God is doing something in you that doesn't need to be explained to everyone. Let Him work. Let Him whisper. Let Him refine. Because when you walk out of this silent season, you won't be the same. You'll be wiser. You'll be stronger. You'll be more aware not just of what's happening around you, but what's happening in you. You'll see with spirit eyes. You'll walk with spirit confidence. And when you speak, your words will carry weight because they've been birthed in the quiet place with God. So stay there. Stay in that stillness until He tells you to move. And when He does move with purpose, move with clarity, move with the deep knowing that comes only from waiting on Him. You've been still. Now, get ready to know, because He's about to show you everything you couldn't see before. And this time you won't just hear it, you'll understand it. You'll be ready for it, and you'll walk in it, fully aware, fully awake, fully aligned. Chosen ones. We've come a long way. We've walked through the fire. We've endured the dark nights. We've heard God's whisper in the silence. And now we are standing at the edge of something new, something holy. I want to talk to you today about fulfillment and stepping into the season God has already prepared for you. Not one that might come, not one you have to earn, but one that has already been ordained by the Most High. This is not a coincidence. This is not random. You're not here by mistake. This is divine timing. See, I believe with every fiber in my being that God does not bring you through a storm just to leave you soaking in the aftermath. No, He doesn't allow the wilderness without preparing a promised land on the other side. What you've been through was not punishment. It was preparation. The tears you cried in secret were watering the soil for what's about to grow in public. You see, fulfillment doesn't come in the moment you want it. It comes in the moment God has appointed it. And right now that appointed time is upon you. I want to say this loud and clear. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not running out of time. You are stepping into time, God's time, heaven's time. The season you're about to walk into has been handcrafted by the Lord. All the closed doors, all the broken friendships, all the lonely nights, they weren't signs of rejection. They were the sacred blueprint of redirection. You've been shifted. You've been refined. You've been rerouted so you could walk straight into your assignment without distraction. Now hear me when I say this. What you're entering is not just another season. It's a fulfillment, a completion of what God spoke over you before you even knew how to pronounce His name. This isn't just a new chapter. It's the chapter He wrote long before the foundations of the earth were laid. That's why the enemy tried so hard to stop you. That's why life pressed you on every side. That's why some nights you had to convince yourself just to take the next breath. Because the enemy knows if you ever walk fully in what God has already placed in you, chains will break around you. Generational curses will die in you. Revival will be born through you. You're not just stepping into something new. You're stepping into something sacred. God doesn't prepare blessings casually. No, He prepares them carefully. Every detail of what you're about to walk into has already been written. And here's the beautiful part. He's been preparing you while preparing it. The situation wasn't ready until you were. That's why it took so long. That's why it didn't make sense at the time. But now the time has come. God says, behold, I do a new thing. Do you not perceive it? The problem is not whether He's doing it. The question is, are you ready to recognize it? Because the fulfillment doesn't come only when the blessing arrives. It comes when your spirit aligns with His plan. That's when the scales fall off. That's when your perspective shifts. That's when you stop asking why it took so long and start praising Him that it didn't come a day too early. Because if it had, you wouldn't have been ready to carry it. But now you are. Some of you listening right now have been in the waiting room so long you forgot what it's like to dream. You stopped praying bold prayers. You settled for survival. But God is calling you out of survival mode and into significance. The waiting was not wasted. The delay was not denial. It was development, and now the fulfillment is here. But hear me, just because the promise is ready doesn't mean you can step into it with an old mindset. That's why this part matters. God is not just giving you a new season. He's giving you a new perspective to match it. You've got to let go of the shame. Let go of the doubt. Let go of the fear that says you're not qualified. Because God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And you, my friend, are called. You are chosen. You are equipped for such a time as this. The season you are about to enter will require faith like you've never walked in before. It will require surrender on a level that scares your flesh but liberates your soul. And it will require you to believe that the same God who brought you through the wilderness is the same God who goes before you into the promised land. Don't bring yesterday's heartbreak into today's healing. Don't drag the voice of your critics into the fulfillment of God's promise. This is a new space, and it demands a new you. So today I challenge you, step forward, step boldly, step humbly, but do not stand still. The door is open. The path is lit. The Father is beckoning you forward. Don't look back. Don't second guess. Don't hesitate. What He has prepared is too sacred to waste on fear. What He has promised is too holy to question now. And for someone who's still unsure, let me speak directly to your spirit. You have not missed your moment. You are not too late. You are right on time for what God has assigned to your life. The waiting season has expired. The preparation season has accomplished its work, and now the time has come to walk in fulfillment. So lift up your head, straighten your spine, square your shoulders, and walk into the season God has written for you with the authority He gave you. Don't apologize for the blessing. Don't shrink to make others comfortable. Don't minimize the miracle. You paid for this with your tears. You earned it with your obedience. You held on when it would have been easier to let go. And God says, well done. Now step in, because this isn't just a new season. This is a fulfilled promise, and it has your name written all over it. My friends, you've come this far, and that ain't by accident. You've walked through the shadows, waited in the stillness, endured the breaking, trusted through the silence, and now you're standing on the edge of a divine beginning. But before you take that next step, I need you to pause with me. I need you to breathe this in. This wasn't just a message for your ears. This was a word for your soul, a reminder, a revelation, a call to rise. God's been speaking, not in thunder, not in fire, but in that whisper deep in your spirit that says, I'm here. I've never left. I've been guiding you, protecting you, preparing you. And because He's been that faithful to you now, He's asking something simple, something powerful. Share it. Don't hold this word hostage in your heart. Somebody out there is fighting the very battle you just came through. Somebody's questioning their worth, their purpose, their future. Somebody is thinking God's done with them because they've been in the dark too long. And you, yes, you've got a testimony that could light up their night. So share it. Speak life into somebody. Post it, text it, tell it. Let them know they're not forgotten. Let them know God is still working, still restoring, still opening doors no man can shut. Let your breakthrough become someone else's confirmation that God is real and God is good. And when doubt tries to creep back in, when life throws, storms, setbacks, delays, remember this: He is still with you. He is not just the God of your victories, He is the God of your valleys. He is not only there when you dance, He's there when you fall. His presence is not based on your performance. His love is not earned, it's given. Unshakable, unbreakable, unchanging. You are held. You are chosen. You are covered. And if you ever forget that, come back to this moment, play this word again. Let it resound in your spirit until it becomes louder than your fears, louder than your doubts, louder than the lies the world told you. Because this isn't the end. This is a new beginning, a chapter that's already written, authored by the one who knows the end from the start. So walk boldly, speak freely, love deeply, and share this light. God's with you. He's ahead of you, and He's waiting to show you just how beautiful the rest of the story is. Now go, and don't keep it to yourself. Finally, thank you for walking with me to the very end of today's message. If this word has inspired you or blessed your life, we humbly invite you to support this channel through your kind encouragement. Your support allows us to continue spreading God's word and sharing His love across the world, reaching both those who can say thank you and those who can only feel it deep within. Your prayers, your likes, and your shares are a blessing beyond words. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who may need a touch of hope and wisdom today. Your engagement helps this community grow and enables us to reach more lives with the light of Christ. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Let us know in the comments what part of the message spoke to your heart. May God cover you, strengthen you, and bless you always.